Guys, it's your girl, Ashley Kirkwood with the Speak Your Way to Cash podcast, where we teach you how to start at the top of the speaking market instead of working your way up from the bottom. During this show, you will hear solo episodes from me, where I'll show you how I have landed and negotiated 5- and 6-figure speaking contracts and licensing deals. You'll also hear from our amazing guests who have grown enormous speaking businesses by utilizing sales and marketing principles that work. If you want to grow your speaking business, listen to this podcast, and then afterwards, head on over to ashleynicolekirkwood.shop and grab my book, Speak Your Way to Cash, How to Start at the Top of the Speaking Market Instead of Working Your Way Up from the Bottom. Ready to dive in? Let's go. Hey, y'all. What's up to the Speak Your Way to Cash family? It's Ashley Kirkwood back again with another podcast episode. But this time, guys, I am actually going to let you listen in to a live video that I recorded. Now, if you're listening to this live video on the podcast and you're like, I want to join your next live, I want to ask you questions, I want to be able to get feedback about my business, then you have to follow me on Instagram at The Ashley Nicole Show, and make sure you're following the Speak Your Way to Cash Facebook page. All right. Make sure you're following the Speak Your Way to Cash Facebook page, because that's where I go live. I also sometimes go live in the Speak Your Way to Cash Facebook group, but enough about that. Even though you may have missed it live, you're about to hear it again. So listen into this live episode and let me know what you think. You can always send me an email to ashley@speakyourwaytocash.com. Let's listen in. Hello. It's Ashley Kirkwood back again with the Speak Your Way to Cash podcast. I'm so excited to have Rashad Rayford from Elevate Your Vibe here. Rashad is an incredible speaker, poet, author, entertainer. I'm just going to let him introduce himself. Rashad, welcome to the Speak Your Way to Cash podcast. Tell the people who you are and what you do.
Hey, what's going on, Ashley? Thank you so much for having me. I'm super glad to be here. So my name is Rashad Rayford. I have a company called Elevate Your Vibe. It's a non-traditional speaking company that blends inspirational speaking, spoken word poetry, business talk, all to help companies tell more consistent and concise stories. And so, I'm super glad to be here. You know, I worked in corporate America for a little while, and I remember going to conferences and kind of just being like, oh my gosh, like, here we go. You see people taking out their phones or taking naps and doing all these things. But as I continue my journey as a poet and as a speaker, I was like, what if we did something different? What if we went into this market and tried to disrupt it, and bringing in me as a poet to do these things? How can I do that? So it's kind of where the business kind of started from, and it's been crazy since then. So
I absolutely love that. That is such an inspirational story. And there are a lot of people listening who are creatives, comedians, they're poets, they're actors, they do something else, and they're wondering if there's a more profitable path for them. What led you to get into speaking specifically?
Yeah, so I was, it's funny because I was actually hosting a show as a poet, and there was a guy in the audience, and he was like, hey man, like, I really love what you're doing. Would you be interested in doing a TED Talk? And this was like 2013. So TED Talks were like popping then, but they weren't like popping how they're popping now, right? And so I was just like, and talk about what? You know what I mean? And he was like, just come and like, just create something, and it could be inspirational or it can be whatever you want to do. So I just created this talk, and that was kind of like my first real, journey into like the speaking world. And I enjoyed it. And from that point, I was kind of like, okay, I don't know, I'll figure out how to do this, but it just nothing ever really materialized. And then maybe a few months later, kind of same scenario, a guy saw me at a show, and he was like, hey man, could you come to my business and kind of do this and kind of talk and just kind of like, and I'm like, well, I'm not really a speaker. I haven't really done it. And he was like, oh, it doesn't matter. Just come and just do something. It'll be fine. And I was like, well, just send me like some information on your business so I can kind of try to just put like something together. And he sent me this packet in the email, and I ended up taking it and just kind of taking like their everyday jargon, their business talk that they use within the office, and kind of blending it together with stories, and ended up doing this 25, 30-minute talk. And like, they were just like blown away by it. And I look back on it now, it was horrible. You know what I mean? But like at the time, they were just like, oh man, this is so great. We want to bring you back. We want to like let you be the keynote. And so I've gone back, I went back like for 3 straight years. And this is like a major pet brand. And so kind of started like that. But even then, I still wasn't like, it still hadn't clicked that this is what I should be doing. So,
and were you getting paid for those talks? Or
yeah, I was getting paid. I was getting paid at the time. Like, it was like $3,000 or $4,000. So it was cool. You know what I mean? But again, like, I wasn't looking at it as like, this is something that I could be doing forever. And it wasn't until 5 years later that it was just like, oh, wait a minute. like, this is it. So it took a little bit of time, but like, I always like laugh at those memories because it really was like the groundwork for where I am now. So
that is so interesting. And he's just like, yeah, $3,000 or $4,000. Like, that's good. This was in 2013?
Yeah, 2013, 2014. Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Okay, awesome. And so at what point in this journey of kind of just getting engagements because you're that good on stage and people being in the audience, which, by the way, guys, if you listen to the podcast, some of the $1 million plus speakers that come on here, similar to Rashad, have mentioned people just saw them in the audience. And if you're really great on stage, every one stage speech you do should convert into 3 additional engagements in the room. So keep that in mind, because it sounds very haphazard, the way Rashad's just like, yeah, I just got $3-4 grand 3-4 times. But like, that is a strategy for some people, is getting on as many stages as possible, selling people in the room. But at what point were you like, okay, I need to take this seriously and brand myself as a speaker and really amp up the speaking side of my business? What did that journey look like?
Yeah, so I was actually taking this course, or it was a class here in town. It's called Periscope, and it's an artist entrepreneurship class. So it takes like everyday artists, whether you're a visual artist, a musician, whatever, but it teaches you like the business of being an artist. Because again, as artists, sometimes we're just like, I just want to create. I don't care about the business.
Right.
It's just like, that's a fairy tale world, right? And so this Periscope training course helps artists become a better businessmen and women. And so for me, I wasn't really sure what I wanted to focus on because, again, I do a lot of different things. And so from the music side, I felt like I had accomplished everything that I was going to accomplish at this point for me, like, because I'm married, have children, like I'm not trying to be on the road. Like that does not interest me at all. So right. The music side, I was like, I'm not really going to focus on that. And so I was like, okay, let me figure out what I want because we had to do a pitch at the end of the class, which was a 6-week program. We had to do a pitch. And so I was like, I don't know what I want to pitch about, but everybody's given a mentor. So you're given a mentor within the industry. And so the mentor that I had a 25-year career. He started like a lot of big brands. And so we were talking at lunch one day and I was like, I'm not sure what I want to pitch about. And some kind of way I brought up the fact that I had done like these one-offs speaking engagements and I was telling him what I do there. And he just was looking at me like I was crazy. And he was like, stop. He was like, what are you doing? I was like, what do you mean? He's like, I've never heard of this before. He's like, I've never heard of a poet doing what you do and the way in which you do it. He was like, this is what you should be focusing on. He's like, this is your career. Yeah. And I was like, huh? And so I just fell back and I went home and talked to my wife about it. And she was just like, let's go. You know what I mean? And so we just sat down from that moment and started strategizing like what it would look like, put my pitch together, ended up winning the pitch contest, 3-minute pitch contest. I pitched the idea of being a poet in these corporate spaces, doing what I do in the way in which I do it, won that contest. And that's been on, it's been on since then. That was 2018. So from that point on, it's just been like, okay, like this is where we want to focus and this is how we want to grow. And, it's been a lot of growing pains, of course, but I think again, like just knowing where you want to try to get to and just putting your foot in the ground and just moving forward is always the best way to do something. So
I really love that. And here's what I love about that. For everyone listening who's like, I don't know what I should be doing. I don't know what I'm great at. I don't know what I'm good at. Your life leaves clues. Like your life literally will give you clues. Like these little things, you're like, I don't know why they came up to me and was like, I want to pay you to speak. And you weren't even speaking. And you were honest. Like, look, I don't even know. This ain't even what I do. They're like, no, you're going to do this. We're going to pay you.
Right.
Like your life will leave clues at what you're great at and what you're good at. And sometimes when you're in the midst of it, it feels like you lack focus or you lack clarity about where you should be going in life, but your life will tell you where you should be going. Like there are things you're great at that people always come to you for. They always ask you about. That's where you need to lean in. Mm-hmm. And I'm so glad you told that story. Like this is a dope origin story. I love this.
Yeah.
This is really good. So at what point did you find Speak Your Way to Cash, the Speak Your Way to Cash community and family? And how did you even learn about us? I don't think we know.
I think that it was probably like maybe early 2020. You know what I mean? Like I think before the times, BC. You know what I mean?
Right. Right.
You know what I mean? And I think it was just one of those things where, again, being intentional about trying to surround myself with people who are doing this work and who are excelling at it. Because again, like for me, I always want to be around the best. I want to just be the best person in the room. I want to be like one of the best, but I don't necessarily have to be the best because I want to continue to grow and learn. And so I think that I found you like on that. And I think like again, like the branding, the name, it was like, okay, let's go. Cause again, it's a lot of groups. It's like, You go in, you look around, and you like, nah, this ain't get on out of here. Y'all
right.
easy. Put the church finger up. See y'all later.
Right.
But yeah, the group was like, it was very open. It was inviting. It was a lot of great information. And again, like I'm big on discernment. And so for me, it was just like, okay, like your spirit was like in a great space and you weren't selling. Like you weren't selling. You were just being open. You were just being honest. You're just having a conversation. And in that drew me into like wanting to know more about like what's going on, the type of techniques I can use. And so like that's kind of where it started. And then from there, it was just like, okay, anytime I can get in a class or do something, I'm going to do it. And, and so I continue to just build and grow as I move on. So
I like that. And I know people are like, what group? We have a free group. We have a free Speak Your Way to Cash group, guys. So like if you're out there and you're not in our free Speak Your Way to Cash group, you can. There's no cost to join. It's a free group. And then we did some low cost challenges during the pandemic. And I think you took part in a few of those. I don't know. I don't remember which ones. We did a pitch challenge. We did a few other challenges. What was the biggest shift for you? Like what was the missing link? You were like, all right, what did you learn that made you think, okay, I can implement this and this made a difference in my business?
I think there was several things. I think one of the main things is just the organization of your CRM and just like all those things, getting just organization, right? Yeah. Because again, for me, it's just like I come from a background of someone hires you to do something and then you do it and then you're done. You know what I mean? But it's just like the process, the speaking process is so much more than that. And I think just I had things out of order, right? Yeah. And so I think just being able to say, okay, like this is the order in which you need to do these things really helped me out early on. And then like later on, like the licensing has been like the biggest thing for me. You know what I mean? Like just being able to take that and manifest even more things because of knowing, hey, like my IP has value. And because I understand that value now, I'm able to leverage it in the market so much more than I was previously. So,
yeah. And because I know there are people listening who are like, okay, I know there are a lot of people in our community. They hear this information. They read the Speak Your Way to Cash book. Rashad's in the book, which I love your story in the book that you shared with one of our researchers. But they get the information. They know it's good information, but they can't implement it because they're scared of asking for the licensing dollars. Do you remember the first time you asked for that money and they accepted? How was that like for you? Were you nervous? Did you feel prepared?
Yeah, I remember I was on a Zoom with the client. And also who else was someone else was on the call as well. I can't remember who it was. I think it may have been the conference coordinator as well. And I had just done the event for them, but then they were talking about like, hey, we have several hundred more people who weren't able to be here. How can we go about? And so I was just like, oh, here it is.
Yes.
It's time. What you gonna do? We say barbecue and mildew. This is the time. What you gonna do? And so it wasn't like an email, right? Or what I mean? It was like, oh, this is live. Like we live. It's face to face. So we got to do this. We're gonna do it now. We got to do it. And so I just thought back to the language, and I was like, boom. And I can't remember exactly what I said, but there was something about, we can do that. There's a 30-day, 60-day, or 90-day licensing fee for the content, and we can go about that. And they were just like, oh, okay, well, let's talk about this. We would like to do maybe the 60-day. I'm like, oh, y'all want to do the 60? Okay, come on with the 60 then.
Right.
But I wouldn't have had that language. You know what I mean? I wouldn't have had the language, and I wouldn't have had the understanding of like, hey, you can also license out your content. I mean, because again, like it's just something that it's not an everyday conversation that you just normally have about taking your work that you've worked hard on and you sell it, and then you can sell it again. And we do it in every other part of our life, but we don't really think about it. Well, I don't really think about it in terms of like the speaking business until like I was able to get into this class and learn about that and read the book and all those good things. So definitely. Yeah.
It is here. The Speak Your Way to Cash book is now available for you to purchase. Go to Amazon to get your audio, Kindle, or hardcover copy of the book. And we have a paperback copy, okay? So you can get it on Audible and listen to it. And I read it myself. So if you love the podcast, you will love the audiobook. Go get it now. Speak Your Way to Cash, how to start at the top of the speaking market instead of working your way up from the bottom. A bit about the book. It's broken down into 6 parts, and it is over 260 pages of goodness, okay? Part 1 covers mindset. Part 2 covers getting yourself in the press. Part 3 covers assembling your 6-figure offer. Part 4 covers inviting people to work with you, sales. Part 5 covers delivering an outstanding speech. And Part 6 covers legalities that every speaker needs and how to build a team. I mean, literally, what did we leave out? Nothing. So go to Amazon and grab your copy today. And let me know you did it too.
Yeah, for sure, man. A lot of people don't think about it, but I love when you were like, all right, this is it. This is the moment. And it's like, guys, I tell people all the time, when you learn information and then you have an opportunity and space to implement that information, that's a gift for you. Like, there's no way that you would have learned the information before that meeting for you not to win that deal at that meeting. Like, that was the whole point. And you're responsible for what you know. And every time you learn information, look for those opportunities where you can leverage it and utilize it. It's the only way you're going to get stronger. So I appreciate you sharing that. And even sharing that maybe there was a little bit of like, all right, what are we going to do here?
What are we going to do? And that's real. And I think, and just to piggyback off what you're saying, I think so many times, like, that's where we are as people. You know, we learn and we have all this information at our disposal, but then we freeze. We go back to that confidence and that mindset of like, well, I know that this is what I should do and what I should say, but like, I'm afraid. And we just got to get past that fear of no, because no is not a bad thing. No is not something that we look at it as a bad thing, but we look at our journey through our lives and we look at all of those no's that we got, they actually led us to the yes. They actually led us to where we were supposed to be. So when we get this information, we really have to utilize it, because it's really just going to help make us stronger. Because why are you getting all this knowledge to not use? We got to just take that step. So
100%. And literally today on Instagram, if you're listening to this on the podcast, it won't be today, but like on February 8th, I posted a reel and it's like, no does not mean stop. No and stop are not synonymous. No is a word of redirection. It's a word of exploration. It's a word that can reveal things to you if you don't allow it to shackle you. And you can't let your no shackle you. No does not mean stop. You have to get comfortable with rejection in this business. And to that point, since I know you were doing acting, poetry, now speaking, as well as poetry, and you're an entertainer and a host, how do you deal with rejection? Because I mean, I've been rejected a lot, frankly, but how do you deal with rejection, and how did you grow that muscle to kind of overcome the rejection?
Yeah, for me, and again, like, I'm glad you said grow, because it is a muscle that has to grow, where you just get back to a place where my mindset always defaults to positivity. Like, that's just my default. And that's just by design. And I think as an actor, no one is rejected more than an actor. I can have 5 auditions in a week, kill all 5. And the thing about acting is, if you don't get the gig, they don't call you or email you to say, hey, you didn't get it, right? You can get a call to be on standby or to be on hold to get the gig. But if you don't get it, they don't call you and say, we went with someone else. So it's just like that rejection, it hits harder because you work so hard on the audition. And then if you don't get it, you have to move on to the next, because if auditions keep coming, you just got to keep moving. So for me, I think it was a muscle that I built over time. But at the end of the day, it's just a mindset thing. You know, I'm a type of person that if I don't get something or something doesn't go my way, like I only give myself a little bit amount of time to wallow or to be sad.
Yeah.
And that's just me. Like, I give myself a couple hours maybe. And I know, like, for some people, like, a couple hours, I'll be 2 weeks, you know, because I just feel like, I think sometimes as creative people, which we all have but we all have creativity inside of us. But I think sometimes as creative people, if you allow yourself to be down, right? If you allow yourself to stay there, sometimes it's harder for us to come out because we live on our sleeve, right? We live with our emotions, and our talents are just out there. And so it's harder for us to come out of things sometimes. And so for me, like, I just made up in my mind that I'm not going to allow myself to stay in a place that is not good for me for any extended period amount of time. Like, and again, like, it's a thing with your mind, right? And so if I feel like I'm down or sad, or I feel like I can't, like, I make myself smile. Right. I'll make myself laugh. I'll make myself think of something that makes me happy. And I'd had to do that continuously until I got to a point where now it's just kind of automatic. You know, my wife talks about it all the time. She's like, I don't see how you can, like, have that happen and then just like you just bounce back. And I'm like, because I've just made up in my mind, I've worked this muscle that it's just automatically defaulting to positivity. Like, that's just it. Like, I'm alive, I'm breathing, there's breath in my body, I know my name, right? Like, so I just automatically get to this point where I default to positivity. So, but I think as you are on this journey to trying to figure out how you can get to that place, you just have to always continue to know who you are. When someone tells you no, it's okay. You just realize, okay, this wasn't for me.
Yeah.
I wanted it, but it wasn't for me.
Right.
And that's okay. This client wasn't my client and it wasn't for me. And it's okay. We just have to get to that point where we have to remove ourselves sometimes from the situation and not take it personally, because business is not personal.
Yeah. And it's like recently I wanted to do a call with he was the director of sales for a company. And he was like, well, we don't hire sales trainers because he was like, I'd love to help you out, but we don't hire sales trainers because all of our people have been here for 20 plus years and they're so experienced that we just don't hire them. And I was like, ooh, I mean, I'd love to do a call, but I'm glad he didn't waste my time with the call. And he still gave me a reason as to why they weren't doing a call. So now I know, okay, I should be looking at companies where people have this type of employee, or if they've all been there 20 plus years, they don't need this type of training. So we need to pivot into offering them a different solution. Even in the no's, there's something you can learn. But something you said reminded me of something TD Jake said. He was speaking to a room full of women, predominantly Black women. And he was like, you know how TD Jake speaks, very slow, very like, very, very wise voice. But he looked at all these thousands of women in the eye and they were asking him what they need to do to reach success. And he was like, y'all need to recover quicker. He's like, you stay in your despair too long. You look back at your past too long. And everyone I know who lacks drive, motivation, like they live in the darkest corners of their past. Every time get together for the holidays, you're going to hear, you remember back in the day when so-and-so broke their hip on the last corner of like every single time. I love what you said about giving yourself a couple of hours, because we have a similar mindset. Like, all right, if it's a no, it just means not now. Or maybe they're not the right person to give me a no. But for my clients, my family, my business, I have to move on. Like I can't stay there. And that's the beauty. You'll go through some things, but it's cool if you go through things, that's a good thing because you're going through it. What's bad is when you stay in it. So going through it is not bad at all.
Right. Can't stay in it. You got to move on, and you have to be able to know, again, who you are. At the end of the day, what are you bringing to the table? I think back to like being in rooms with like doctors and lawyers and scientists and like all of these people with multiple degrees and multiple titles, and that imposter syndrome that tries to sneak in and say, hey, bro, what you doing in here? You know what I mean? And it's like, you have to understand like what you're bringing to the table is something so unique and special. And it doesn't matter if there are 7 other people who are talking about the same topic. They aren't you.
Right.
And we have to get to a point where you got to get bold. I tell students, look in the mirror, because it was a point I would get up every day and I would talk to myself, and we all do it, right? But I would get in the mirror and I'd be like, hey man, today we're going to kill this test. Today, this is going to be an incredible day. Like we have to speak out into the world, those things that we want, and believe that they're going to happen for us because we're doing the work.
Yeah.
When we allow people who can't see the vision, because a lot of times, I said it in a song lyric once, like people won't see it until they see it. And that's okay, because everybody isn't meant to understand the vision. Everybody isn't meant to understand what it is you are bringing to the table. But if you know that there can be nothing that stops you.
Yep.
Nothing.
Yep. I love that. Speaking to yourself. So we talked kind of about where you started. Then we talked about how you've grown your speaking business. What does it look like now? Are you prospecting? Are you actively pitching? Or are you still working your referrals? Yeah,
I'm pitching. I would say about 75% of the business is referral, because I think, again, because being in the space and offering what I offer, it's one of those things where, again, if people don't see it, it's just like, okay, that's interesting. But then like when people see it, they're just like, oh my gosh, this is so amazing. And so what happens is you try to make those conference coordinators and the people who bring you in, you make them look really, really good, because they're just like, their CEOs and the VPs are just like, where did you find this person? And now they look like a genius because they're doing like their job in an amazing way, because they're not just bringing in like the regular everyday speaker. They're bringing in somebody that's bringing something unique and different to the table. So for me, the referral business is super, well, I had leaned on that more than anything. But again, like after kind of coming to the conference and taking the class and reading your book, I kind of have moved my mindset more toward the prospecting. I was prospecting before, but not at the rate that I'm prospecting now. Yeah. Before I was maybe doing like 10, 15 a week or something like that. But now it's, I'm doing, 3-4 times that now, because I put myself in position to be able to do it in an automated way, to do it in a way that's more productive and it's less stressful because I know what to say and I know how to go about it. And then now I'm not waiting, because before it'd be like, okay, well, I sent this email. Let me check my email every 3 days and see. If it, now I'm just like, I'm putting it out there and I'm moving on. And then, people hit you up a month, 2 months later. Like I booked several things this month off of stuff that I sent out like in like October or November. You know what I mean? So you just keep moving. And that's the thing that I'm learning and I've learned is just keep moving forward. You know what I mean? Just keep on going. So
yeah, for sure. I love that. I love that, because we booked a large engagement and the woman had my LinkedIn message. She responded to a LinkedIn message I had sent out a year ago, 1 year ago. And she was like, okay, we're ready to get, and within 2 weeks, the contract was signed. She was like, all right, I've looked at your TEDx. I've done this. This is great. Let's go. Like, and then what she told me was, for those of you out there, she was like, I like that you just gave me your rate. Cause she was like, every other person I talked to was like, well, I can't give you a rate until we have a call, then I'm gonna do this and do that. I was like, look, they started around this. She was like, look, let's go. Let's go. So don't be afraid to give people your rate. Sometimes if we think the rate is high, we'll try to make our customers do backflips before we tell them the rate. I've never done that, regardless of what I'm selling. It's like, no, that's great. It is what it is, because it's just the rate. The rate has nothing to do with the value. The value is like 50 million times that, but like, I'm just telling you what it costs for you to get in.
That's it.
If you want to get in, that's on you. I got other people that want to get in.
Right.
and you find those that want to get in.
And you have to just be upfront, because nobody likes the runaround. Like, don't put me through. I don't send people through hoops. I'm exactly like you. Like, this is what it is. Let's just get it out the way upfront, because I don't want to get on a call with you if you're not even close to what I'm going to be, asking for.
Yep.
I don't want to waste 20, 30 minutes on a call, and you don't want to waste 20, 30 minutes. Right? You know what you want to spend, and I know what I have to offer. And if you're not like in a place where you can do that, that's cool. Because again, people love it too when you leave them alone.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I can follow up and all those things, but once we have that initial, like, this is it and this is what it's going to be, like, I don't have to continue to like bother you. You know what I mean? And I've had plenty of opportunities come my way because people were like, oh, I saw you working. I remember that you reached out, but then I was like looking through LinkedIn and looking through, Instagram, and I'm like, you're working. So like, I want to be a part of that. And that's the thing too. People are going to want to be a part of what you're doing if they see you doing it.
Yep.
But if you allow like people, or even yourself, if you allow like limited beliefs to keep you from like working and moving forward, then you'll continuously be in that same spot. I like to say limited beliefs, they block future receipts. Right? So if you don't just do the work, then how can you have those receipts, right? Like, you can look up speakyourwaytocash.com. You're going to get all the receipts. You're going to see everything you need to see to know that it's legit, that it's going to help you grow your business, that you're going to be able to do what you need to do as a speaker. But if you never made that decision to say, I'm just going to do the work, then it wouldn't be there. So I think people have to get past like these mindsets that keep them from actually doing what they have the ability to do. The ability, you just have to do it.
Yeah.
You just have to do it.
Yeah. I mean, and that's it. Like, just get it done. And here's the other thing. If this is what you're purposed to do, why wouldn't you be found doing it? Like, if you really believe that I have something that can help people, why wouldn't I sell it? Like, there are some people that were like, they feel bad about selling. And I was like, the only reason you should feel bad about selling is if you don't believe in the product. And if your speech is the product, if your coaching is the product, if your offers are the product, then you should feel good about that. I would feel horrible selling stuff that I didn't believe in. And when I did inside sales, I never took a sales job if I didn't know everything about the product and if I didn't believe in the product. Like, that was it. And you all have to believe in your product.
And the thing is, we live in a world where it's pretty easy to spot people who are selling you snake oil.
Yeah.
Like, we've been in the world of the internet for long enough to kind of realize, if you've been around long enough to know, okay, like, this person is not on par. You know what I mean? And so, and like you said, you. So you know what you're selling. And so again, like, people, you just have to be confident in yourself. You know what I mean? And again, sometimes it's because we're around other people who don't understand. Again, like, I went to school to be an engineer.
Wow.
Right. And now I'm a speaker, I'm a poet, and I go on stages, I go on corporate stages as a spoken word artist, as a poet, intertwining poetry and business talk. What?
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, no one, like, who's going to be like, oh yeah, that's what, like, you know what I mean? No, that's on me though. If I didn't believe that I was actually offering value, that if I didn't believe that I was actually bringing something tangible to the table, then this wouldn't be happening. So again, like, I'm really speaking to like the creatives, right? And those people who feel like, well, I don't have all the degrees and I didn't go to school for this and that doesn't matter. it really doesn't matter at all. Right. That's a limited belief that you have to unlock and get out of your system, because you're literally stopping yourself from walking in your destiny. You literally are stopping yourself. So you gotta break free.
Yeah, you have to break free. Oh, I love that. One thing you mentioned earlier was that you attended the event and you were a virtual attendee of Speak Your Way to Cash Live 2021. So how was your virtual experience? Because I know people are like, virtual, oh my God, I'm going to be behind a computer. It's going to be blah, blah, blah. It was a 3-day virtual experience with a whole lot of pre-event stuff. Explain how your virtual experience was and what was the biggest thing you took away from the event?
Yeah, my virtual experience was off the chain. Like, it was great. Like, I loved it. It was probably, no, it wasn't probably, it was the best virtual event that I've been to, especially because it's multiple days. And again, it's hard, right, to pull off an event of that magnitude with people in person and people virtually, and not have the virtual people feel like, oh man, one camera angle,
right?
She not talking to us. And it was none of that. Like, it was like a production. It was just like, you think about like somebody like watching the Grammys or like watching like a live award show. Like, there were multiple camera angles. You were engaged with the audience in person and the audience virtual. We felt like we were there. Like, we had the virtual chat was like going crazy. Like, it was off the chain. And I think, again, for me, it was just like the resources.
Yeah.
Right. The resources for me were the biggest thing, because we can go back to these things over and over again. And a lot of times when you are in events, you take notes, and sometimes your notes are like, because you're trying to listen and take notes. And but to have like the PowerPoint, to have like all of the books and all of the free resources, the box that we got, like with everything in it, like those are things that we can continue to use for like years to come. And so for me, like, it was just like the personal touch on like making sure that everybody had what they needed was, for me, like the biggest takeaway. And again, like, I'm still using those things now. Like, I'm still using these resources and these tools that you provided. And so, yeah, like, those are the biggest takeaways for me. Again, because again, when you run events, you understand. Yeah. And so, like, I know like how hard it was to do this, and like how stressful it had to be, because I wasn't even there. And I'm like, man, I'm just thinking back, because, thinking back to being like, I had a TV show in college, so I understand like all of the technical things that go along with it. And then you're doing it live. It's not like you're recording it and then we can watch it. Like, this is all live. So like, and then on top of that, delivering the content and delivering every day, standing up for hours. And like, so all that's like crucial. So just to have like your husband doing his thing and the whole team, like, it was just an amazing event. And I think that, again, like, it set the bar for folks who want to do virtual events and who want to come to the live event. Because y'all doing it again, I'm going to be there live.
Yes, come live. It's year 7 too. So we're like, it's going to be off the chain. Like, I'm so excited. Yeah. And we'll finally get to meet in person.
Right.
But yeah, we got like, last year we had 3,500 square feet. This year we rented 7,500 square feet. Cause we're like, the family coming out. Okay. Like y'all are coming out. But if you have to do virtual, we'll still have a hybrid option. But yeah, we worked really hard to make sure you all felt seen, because I've attended a virtual event and it's like, I just felt like I was not seen at all at the event. And it's like, man, I paid my money to be here. Like, I want to have a good experience too. But there is nothing like, getting to hug people or see people in person. And even in person, do an event during COVID, as you know. So we have everyone virtual. And then in person, we had to do all the COVID tests, spaced 6 feet apart, having a big enough venue, serving food with COVID protocols, masks on, all the things. So it's just a different experience doing an event, but it was such power in the room that I was like, all right, we're going to do it again. Because leading up to the event, I was like, man, I don't know. Is 6 it? Like, it may be it. But now I'm like, okay, we're doing it again. It's going to happen.
Right.
But now I appreciate you being there. And you came up and did a hot seat too, virtually, which was cool.
Yeah, that was great. That helped me out a lot too. Just again, with pricing for certain things, because I do a lot of these one-offs where I do, and one of my mentors was always like, sometimes you have to go where the market takes you.
Yeah.
And, a lot during the pandemic, the market was taking me to these corporate engagements where people were just asking for like these 5 to 7 minute kind of inspirational talks for their business. And so I was trying to figure out like what that pricing looked like, because for me, it was just like, okay, it's not the full rate necessarily, but like where does that kind of fall? And so like that kind of helped me with figuring out what that looks like moving forward. So it was a great great tool to be in that hot seat. So
yeah, for sure. Well, I enjoyed it. And a lot of people there got a ton of value out of seeing you go through that process and put together your pricing packages for sure. This was an amazing discussion. It was so inspirational, so motivational. No wonder your clients love you and are booking you up. So where can people learn more about you? Where can they book you for speeches? Where can they learn about your products that they can purchase today?
Yeah, they can go to my website, which is RashadThaPoet.com. So it's THAPOET, RashadThaPoet.com. And you can follow me on Instagram at Elevate Your Vibe _ And yeah, I have books on at my website. Elevate Your Vibe, 10 Ways to Grow You is a book I put out a couple of years ago, which is a really great resource. And I also have some ebooks as well. And again, most of my stuff is really about just, again, unlocking that understanding of who you are. Because I think at the end of the day, I don't want to go on a long tangent and really have you. I want something that's going to you can read it, it's quick, and you can get what you need and you can go. Because I think at the end of the day, it's not necessarily that we need inspiration or motivation. We just need discipline. You know what I mean?
That's a word.
I mean, at the end of the day, that's what we need. You know what you're supposed to be doing. We know what we're supposed to be doing, but it's just the discipline to do it. And once we line up that mindset with discipline, it's on. But we just fall back into our same old habits. And it's just when we create those new habits and create the discipline that we need, then we can do what we need to do. Everybody that's listening to this right now probably already knows what they should be doing, right? But they just don't have the discipline to do it.
Yeah. Yeah, man, we can't end on anything more powerful than that. Please check out everything Rashad has. And if you're a corporate client of mine that's listening, I totally endorse Rashad. He's incredible. I've seen him do his thing. You're going to want to book him. And if you are someone in the audience who's I just want some inspiration, please get his EP, go get his CDs, his books, whatever he has available, because it will inspire you. Thank you so much again, Rashad, for joining us on the Speak Your Way to Cash podcast.
Thank you for having me.
All right, wasn't that interview amazing? If you're anything like me, you have pages full of notes. But here's the thing. Before you head out, I want you to go to facebook.com and join the Speak Your Way to Cash Facebook group. That is where I am. That's where a ton of other speakers are, a ton of other people who listen to the show. We all congregate there and chat. And it's 100% free. Now, if you're ready to take your speaking career to the next level, I have 2 ways for you to do that. One, you can go to ashleynicolekirkwood.com/SYWTC live replay and pick up the live replay. That training is 7 modules, chock full of information. It's crazy. Go over there, read all about it. Or if you want a more personal experience, you already know that you want to be a speaker. You're ready to fully commit and you want someone to walk you through it and save you tons of time Googling and doing it on your own, then book a VIP day with me. You can go to ashleynicolekirkwood.com, scroll down until you see the VIP day section and get more information on that there. All right. Thank you guys again for watching. Please do not forget to leave us a review. That is how we keep this train rolling and get some of the best speakers in the world to get on this show. So please, please, please leave a review. Shoot me a message on Facebook or Instagram, and Facebook in the Speak Your Way to Cash group, Instagram at the Ashley Nicole Show. And I'd be more than happy to chat with you and say hi. All right, y'all have an awesome, awesome day.